Yesterday we passed our plumbing and foundation backfill inspection. Today I'm back out here on the job site with the goal of doing all of our downspout drains and backfilling our foundation. Hopefully I can get all this done today. It is the hottest day of the year so far, high of 90. Really feels like summer. It's like 10:30 in the morning. I'm already drenched in sweat, but we're gonna keep trucking and see if we can get this done. I'm starting with just a general layout of the pipes, where they need to go. Might be one pipe short, but we'll get most of the way there. I'm gonna have a downspout at that far corner, and then on the front here I'm gonna have one on this corner and the far corner. I want the gutter to be pitched equally on this front facade here because it is a 44-foot long run, and I don't want it to look kind of asymmetrical. The back, however, I don't really care as much. And right off that back corner there is where I'll exit the house, and then our seepage pit where all this water's gotta go is basically right down here. We have to dig a 12-foot by 20-foot by 6-foot deep, basically swimming pool, fill it with gravel. I'm using 4-inch thin wall sewer pipe. This PVC pipe is a lot cheaper than the Schedule 40 counterpart. I think these were like $16 a 10-foot run versus like, oh, I don't know, 80 for the Schedule 40. So hopefully this thinner pipe doesn't bite me. It's definitely a little bit more flexible, much thinner wall, but I think it'll do for this application, just being a gutter drain. Of course, anywhere I have a turn or where a run is connecting in, I'm using long sweep 90s and Y connections of plus 45-degree elbows. That is the smoothest way to get water to turn without clogging. So I think I'm gonna start by taking my skid steer and dumping gravel in sort of strategic locations near the pipe joints. That way I can easily shovel them out, get my 1/4 inch per foot slope, then fill the rest in with gravel underneath. Then on top of that, I'll probably just fill with dirt. It's a lot cheaper. On the inside of the foundation, however, I will be filling with all gravel. I do have to get my 2-inch insulation down on the wall first though. In general, something I've learned through research on backfilling foundations is you want to keep it equal on both sides if it's going to be filled in on both sides. If you've got a basement that's totally excavated on the inside and you're only going to have dirt on the outsides, wait till you get that first floor platform framed in. That keeps the walls from tipping inwards from the pressure of the soil on the outside. In my case, I'm just going to make sure I dump fairly equally on both sides when I start really filling it up. As I put the pipe in, I'm always checking my slope with my plumber's level. Similar to any other PVC pipe, I'm just using standard primer and glue to make all the connections. I arbitrarily picked about 8 inches back from the corners where I wanted my downspouts to go, just to keep them kind of away from my corner trim when I put the siding on eventually. And I'm keeping about a 2-inch gap away from the foundation wall to accommodate the thickness of any siding and stone veneer we put on. Even the birds are hot. He's coming to our center footing to take a bath. It's okay, little buddy. Splash around if you need. Cool your wings off. He is cute. Here it is all glued together and sloped between 1/8 and 1/4 inch per foot. The heat is killing me. I'm definitely moving a lot slower than I thought I would be, but I have gotten the whole run glued up now, and the only way to test it is with some real water. Let's see if I can beat it. Hey, there she is. We're flowing. Good news. It appears to be flowing in the right direction, which is always good. Now before I finish filling up the outside of the foundation, I want to get some backfill on the other side. But before I can put that stone in, I have to put our 2 inches of insulation down the inside of the wall. Slight side note, a stealth bomber just flew probably like 1,000 feet over the property, directly over where I'm standing, and I almost crapped my pants. I wish I could have gotten the camera in time, but I was literally staring at this thing in awe, like, what the hell is that? I've never seen one in person that close, and this thing flew right over top of me. I think we're on some sort of a US Air Force training route or something, because I see A-10 bombers flying over quite frequently in groups of like 2 to 10. But this is the first time I've ever seen a stealth bomber ever fly in person, actually, and it was right over our property. Anywho, back to the insulation. This job would have been a whole lot easier if I wasn't getting my leg burned during the concrete pour and would have remembered to scrape the excess spillover that's on top of our footer here off, because now we have this wonderful jagged edge that the foam board's got to sit up against rather than a nice flat footing. Kind of like that. I set this corner up and I had a little bit of an idea. I think instead of custom cutting every one of these things before they get installed, I'm gonna install them level, prop them up against the inside here with these pieces of wood, and then when I'm done a run, I'll just take my Sawzall and run it along the top edge of the ledge there. And I'm not planning to use any adhesive on this. I'm hoping just the weight of the stones will keep it smushed up against the wall. We're gonna see. The trowel corner went better than I expected, actually. It seems to be holding nice and tight to the wall. Only thing I gotta remember is to take the wood blocks out. I almost lost one in there. On the outside, I'm only gonna put gravel underneath the pipe because gravel's really, really expensive and dirt's a lot cheaper. So I'll put gravel underneath to make sure the pipe doesn't settle, and then dirt above it. Believe it or not, that pile of dirt cost $175. One of those 4 piles of gravel costs $475.
Needless to say, this job would have been near impossible by myself if it weren't for the skid steer. I am so thankful I purchased this machine last year.
I found my jigsaw turned to a really low setting. I guess is a lot better than my Sawzall because I can keep the cut square to the piece of insulation, and the really flexible blade kind of goes along the top surface of the concrete without jamming up too much.
Mother Nature is probably going to rain on our parade, and we're not going to be able to get much more done before a storm rolls in. Alex is currently drilling a hole through the foundation. I've been going around and cutting off the insulation on the top. It's really hard work. Everything that we're doing is really hard work, but I had no idea that being in that squatting position and cutting insulation could be so hard. It's my first time using a jigsaw, and I've been successful at it. Have all my fingers, and everything's been going good. So hoping to get some of the last insulation that we have up there cut down before the rain comes in.
Come on.
What happened?
For some reason, this one block cell didn't get full of grout, so I figured before I fold it back up, I'd use some extra conduit I had laying around to create one more spare conduit run into my utility room.
Despite getting rained out last weekend just before we were done, I came back an evening this week after work and finished up the backfill. I did leave the dirt out on the outside of the foundation in 4 different places where I'm gonna need to dig future trenches. That's right here where my ground wire comes in, where my septic and well equipment come in, where my electric service enters the house, and also where my gutter downspout drain will leave the house. So now we are finally on to slab prep. We're gonna be putting gravel, vapor barrier, insulation, rebar, and radiant tubing down on this slab behind me in the next 2 weeks. That's when I have my concrete slab guy scheduled for. I'm meeting with them next week to check things over. So hopefully here in a couple weeks, we're gonna have a sweet looking slab and we'll be ready to frame. Thanks for watching, thanks for following along. Of course, there's plenty more to come. We will see you next week.